Hey guys. It's me once again. I hope some of you still remember me, but if you don't, quick introduction. My name is Phil, not real name. I share ritual experiences in this sub blah blah blah. So basically last year I posted for the first time ever on Reddit because I really wanted to share with the world my Midnightman experience, and then I started performing other peculiar games that mostly take place in a scenario where you can be killed by a ghost or demon. It sure was a fun ride. I stopped doing these for a few months, but I promised I would come back, and here I am, smiley face. So in the few past months I have tried a few of these games, more simple ones, actually, because I wanted to make a solo post for at least 3 different games, so I targeted at those easy, but sure scary, mirror summoning games, like Bloody Mary etc., and none of them did work, yep. Then I decided to perform a ritual that already has been requested by a lot of people for me to do it, Men in the Fields, a game where you need to close literally everything in your home or otherwise, you'll get decapitated. This is what I had to deal with, lol. And the worst part of this game is that if you forget to close even a single case located deep in your basement, it's a losing scenario. When I fully analyzed the situation I would put myself in, I created a strategy beforehand, which involved in taking all these objects outside before the summoning, although I still had some problems. I am not a very organized guy and there is stuff in my house I could not even find to discard before starting the game, after thinking about alternate solutions. To reach safety, I concluded that it would be better to play this on my uncle's farm. My uncle is a very organized man and definitely does not keep things he consider useless in his house, like for example candy dispensers, or stuff alike. His wife also thinks the same way. Both of them are Supernatural fans as well, so I knew it wouldn't be a problem to ask them to let me do this in their home. There would also be an advantage of having no neighbors to put in danger, and there would be a creepy factor for taking place in actual fields. It was about 8 in the morning of a sunny and calm day when I decided to ruin it for me and take a long travel to my uncle's farm just for the sake of this game. I asked my friend Daniel to come with me. He obviously was creeped as hell, but all I wanted him to do was to drive for me because, you know, driving for 3 hours would definitely tire me and I would probably screw everything up. We arrived in there exactly at 11:17. I don't know why I memorized this exact hour, but anyways, me and Daniel hopped out of the car and had lunch with my uncle and aunt. Daniel was exhausted after driving for such a long time, so right after the meal he sat on the sofa and almost immediately slept. I kinda felt bad for that. I would only perform the ritual hours later, but I wanted to save all possible energies. After a conversation with the house owners and also a nap, everyone was ready by 1800 hours or sometime close to that. Even being an amazingly organized house, we still had the plan to remove a few items that could make the game way more hard for me. Of course, with everyone working, we cleared the house of any small closable object by 1930. We then locked them, closed, just to be sure, on a shed nearby. Daniel, my uncle, and my aunt got in my uncle's truck and went to a friend's house a few kilometers away. It was about 2000 hours, I was finally alone, and with my body 90% ready, I was planning to start this by 2100 hours, so I just needed now to use my few extra minutes to take a final tour in the house and close the stuff in my chosen safe room, which was the smallest room in the entire house obviously. The house was big, but not absurdly. I was able to walk through its entirety in a matter of 5 to 10 minutes. After that, I still had free time, so I repeated this action in a pace that wouldn't get me tired. So when my alarm ringed on exactly 20:50, I stopped what I was doing and moved to the back door. I kept looking on my clock until it finally reached 2100 hours. I slowly walked away from the door. It was silent and dark as hell. I stopped walking. But who will scare the crows away? I shouted 7 times. At first, nothing happened. I thought I did fail, but after a solid minute, I heard the voice, or to better say it, I felt the voice. I don't know how to explain this sensation exactly, but I didn't hear a voice phonetically speaking to me, but I still could sense someone dreadly saying, "That's not your biggest problem," to me. Then I turned back and casually walked back to the house, trying my best to show no fear. I checked once again my safe room, as the rules told, and everything was still closed and fine. I left my crucifix in there, grabbed my lantern and started my closing journey. As I Antec iPad, everything in the house was open, from windows to DVD players, etc. I got creeped out really fast honestly, but I was also confident. Everything hard to spot was already removed beforehand. From room to room, I closed all the stuff I had to. Even though this game is only dangerous during the main part if you look outside, I was still feeling uneasy. I was still a little haunted by the way the men in the fields contacted me, and there also was a really dark energy following me, that's for sure. Also a quick observation, I don't know if it was just me, but I think I found some of the objects we took outside inside of some rooms where they were before, and of course they were open, not all of the objects, but one or two, or maybe I'm just crazy, who knows. It was about 2200 hours when I got into the kitchen, one of the few places left for me to close stuff. If you ask me why this part is having a whole paragraph dedicated to it, I tell you, it's because I met him, not my main enemy, Man in the Fields, but more of a neutral guy who's likely to appear during the game. When I was closing the fridge, with the corner of my eye I could see an enormous figure, at least 6'5" I assure you. He kind of reminded me Count Olek from Nosferatu. When I briefly saw him, I almost jumped, but the fear passed very quickly. Like when a friend jump scares you, I think my brain processed almost immediately he was not a threat, so I was not really worried about him anymore. I just had to be sure I would not look directly into him. I finished my task on the kitchen, and left on an alternate doorway just to be sure I wouldn't bump into him. So yeah, basically nothing too much happened after that. I finished closing everything by 2240. I used a few extra time to triple check everything and ran to my safe room by 2300 hours exactly. I know I could have stayed for a bit longer, but I didn't want to risk accidentally looking outside or at the Nosferatu guy. When I entered the safe room, the uncertainty started to hit me. I was actually expecting that to happen to me because that's actually psychologically normal, like for example when you finish a test but when you get home, you start to think things like, did I really got that answer right? Basically when I laid down to sleep I started to think if by any chance I let something very minor in the house open before entering the safe room. These thoughts had me awake for a while, but then I thought, screw it, and I was finally able to shut my eyes and mouth and sleep. I was exactly 6:30 when I woke up. I usually wake up with a really bad mood, but that day I was feeling really happy for some reason. Maybe because I wasn't dead. Yup, I think that's exactly why I was feeling so good. I opened the safe room door just to find the sunlight brightening the whole house. Everything looked okay and nice, but then, no plot twist, I won the game for real. Even though after that night every time I walked by the fields I performed the chant and I get a few shivers, but nothing too serious. Daniel and everyone arrived around 7:15. They were all quite surprised to find out I did survive the night, even though they were trying to hide it. Me and Daniel stayed for at least 2 more hours chatting with my uncle and aunt. I told them my experience and they seemed really scared about the whole Nosferatu referee in the kitchen part, more than they were about the main Fields rival. They couldn't just stop looking to the kitchen. I felt bad for them, so before leaving I made a prayer with them and lit an incense in the kitchen. They now looked a lot more secure. By 9:10 me and Daniel helped them to put the stuff we locked in the shed back where they belonged, and right after that we leave the farm. This time, I took the wheel. Poor Daniel just needed some rest. So that's it. That's my MITF experience. Not that tense like my previous attempts in the supernatural, but still a chilling one for me. What do you guys think? Any thoughts? Any suggestions for future games? I'm finally back and would love to continue active, winky face.
Resist at any final place. Bless that right across your face.